Alright guys, welcome to the round 8 review for AFL Fantasy this week. So we ended up scoring 2006, which isn't a great score, but I'm liking how my team's looking like at the moment. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. So round 8 ranking of around 14k and we slid about 30 spots. So we're now ranked at 3.9k overall, which isn't too bad. As far as our trades went, didn't play off this week, but I think in the long run they'll be pretty good. And our captain also failed to score, so given that our captain scored well and we made the right trades, we could have had a better week and moved up. And yeah, it wasn't much in it between us moving up and us moving down. I think it was about 5 points in the end, so 5 more points and we would have moved up in ranking. So wasn't much in it. But yeah, our trades didn't really play off as I wanted them to. We traded out Crouch and Hewitt. Crouch being omitted and Hewitt was a bit questionable. I wasn't sure whether or not he'd be back this week, so like I said, in the previous video, we had to play a bit aggressive, so we traded those two out at the expense of holding a couple of rookies that I probably wanted to offload, and we ended up bringing in Callum Mills and Luke Parker. I think Luke Parker is a top six, given that he plays that inside mid role. If he plays up forward, probably not, but I saw the last couple of weeks he had been attending a couple of centre bounces and he did look pretty good. So we decided to pick him up. And Callum Mills, I really like Callum Mills due to the fact that he's a really well balanced player, and I say that because he's got an inside game and he's got an outside game, and it's sort of hard to find players that have a mix between two. But Callum Mills is the perfect player in that type of bracket. So I like Callum Mills. Didn't score well this week, unfortunately. But I think in the long run it'll be a really good pick. He's got a really high ceiling as we've seen in the past. So those are the trades we made. As far as our team went, defense is really solid. Short scored a 94, Chris with a 111, and Whitfield with a 93. So all of those guys were pretty solid without being too extraordinary. Dawson finally scored a 128. I'm assuming he played on the wing because I don't think he would have dashed at a 128 playing at halfback. So assuming he played on the wing, he did take a lot of marks. And like I said, when Dawson plays on the wing, he's going to obviously have a higher ceiling. And he's shown that with the 128. So I think Jordan Dawson can push his case for top six defender. And he's potentially one we hold for the remainder of the season, given that he plays that wing role. Sicily, 88, bit down, but still managed to get to a good score. Dacos, 83, really good stuff from him. So defense pretty solid, and O'Driscoll and DeConning on the bench are really nice. They're scoring pretty well, and they're making some good money, which is a good sign. Midfield was absolute shambles. The first four blokes were alright, but then it just went downhill from there. So Steele as captain obviously didn't go as planned. At the end of the day, it was either Jack Steele or Clayton Oliver. I was tossing between the two, who to go and chuck the C on, and we ended up going Steele, mainly based on the fact that he can tackle a bit more. And I knew that Oliver was more of a disposal player, but I felt that, Steele might have a better game. So we decided to captain Steele, and we lost about, I think, 21 points in the end. So it was a bit costly. Those 21 points would have probably pushed us up in the ranking instead of down. But I think it's fine. We make mistakes. Bailey Smith, he's been really average. So we've brought him in. He's gone 92, 100, 100. So he's not shown that ceiling that he had in the first couple of rounds. So hopefully he has a big game coming. I believe he plays that first game this week, or I might be mistaken. So yeah, he does. He plays that Friday night game against Collingwood. So hopefully he has a big game, gets a lot of the ball, and hopefully he can give us a 140 or a 130 plus. That'll be nice. But yeah, we paid up big money for him, and we just haven't got any return from him as of yet. So hopefully he starts to deliver. Oliver was great, really consistent stuff, and he probably looks like one of the best players in the comp at the moment. Him and Paddy Cripps look both in line for Brownlow. So I really like Oliver. I think he's a great player and should average 110 plus this season. Jack McRae, 110. So he bounced back from last week, and yeah, not much to be said here. He captained the Dogs in a losing side and started on the bench again, which is a bit unusual. I'm not sure if that's just how they wanted to play out, but his time on ground is fine, so I'm not too worried about Jack McRae. I think with Bont coming back in, maybe he attends less centre bounces, but that whole Bulldogs midfield is all over the place at the moment, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. They need to really sort it out. And then yeah, the bottom four, Callum Mills, not great, 76. I think he bounces back. Didn't really get tagged or anything. It was just a really poor game from him. I thought against Gold Coast we chucked the VC on him because he might have a big game, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But yeah, I think he's a good option in the long run. Still another good option to bring in if you're looking for someone. And yeah, he plays Essendon this week, so a relatively easy matchup. I guess you could say it's a bit tough, but he should be fine, I think. And Parker, 84. There was news that he might have rolled his ankle, I think it was, after the game, but I think Longmire said that he should be fine to play this week, so no issues there. And Rowell, 58. I hate watching Matt Rowell play. I can't stand watching him. He's one of the worst outside players I've ever seen. He has no outside game whatsoever, and I go on this every single week. But he's really got to work on his outside game if he wants to really be noticed amongst the competition a bit more. Because, yeah, he's good at getting clearances, but aside from that, he does nothing else. So Matt Rowell, needs to work hard for uncontested possessions and needs to improve his footy a bit more, I think. He's got the role, his time on ground's there, so you suggest that he should be scoring well, but without that uncontested game, he's sort of lacking behind. And yeah, 58's not great, so we have to trade Matt Rowell this week. I think it's just way too costly having someone priced at almost 600k and scoring that. It's not great, so we trade Matt Rowell this week. Although he does have that role, and you sort of should just back him in to score well. I don't think you can with Matt Rowell. So we trade him this week. And Horn Francis, 59. Similar to Matt Rowell, he's not really got an outside game, so they're both similar players. Horn Francis, I think, is a little bit less than Rowell in terms of how he plays. His time on ground's a lot lower than Rowell's. And yeah, both of them are players I need to get rid of. But I think we hold Horn Francis this week, and we trade Rowell instead. Because if we trade Horn Francis instead of Rowell, I don't think we'll be able to get in the player that we want. So we trade Rowell this week, hold Horn Francis, hope that Horn Francis can give us a 70 maybe. But yeah, McCom and Ward, that's fine. 50s from both of them. They're still making us a bit of cash, which is good. McCom especially. And then going into our ruck, Bruce was really solid with a 91, and Hayes with 63, great cover. And I heard earlier today that Gorn might be out for a week, so that's one to keep an eye on. And it's also really good for us because we don't have Gorn, so we're not forced to trade him or do anything stupid like that this week. So yeah, Rucks were solid. Forwards really let us down this week. I think that's probably where our ranking dropped the most in our forward line. Dunkley, it's fine, 62. I guess everyone has him. Cornelio, 65, isn't great as well. Yeah, he's just playing too much up forward, I feel like. Needs to play a bit more in the midfield. And Butters, 63. I don't really blame Butters too much. He didn't really play midfield. He was playing more up forward for the game, and Connor Rosie was the one that took his spot and was playing in the midfield attending centre bounces, whereas Zach Butters was playing forward for most of the game. So it's been interesting because I think Butters is a better player when he plays in the midfield, but apparently Port like to play him more up forward than in the midfield. So I'm not too sure where Butters. He's definitely not a top 6 the way he's playing at the moment. So we're going to have to offload him at some point. Maybe when his buy comes, we'll see. And then Will Brodie, 104. Solid stuff from him. Nothing too special. His time on ground's still pretty low, but he's managing to score some pretty solid scores. Naish with a 55. I think it's time we offload Naish. He still went up in price, although I think that it was only by like less than 5k. So we offload Naish this week in round. And then Nick Martin, 104. We could potentially hold him after the buys because he's scoring that well. So I really like Nick Martin. I don't think he's a keeper, but he's definitely one that you can hold for a long time. Him and Dacos are players you could probably hold up till the buy. And then Rochelle, 56. Not great because he is dropping in price, but he did score a reasonable score. And Windhager came on as the medical sub and dropped in price in that last quarter. So, bit unfortunate, but I mean, Windhager, we can hold him to the buys and we'll at least have, a player playing during the buys instead of having someone like Jack Williams or Reef McInnes that didn't even get a game. So that's how our team's shaping out to be at the moment. As far as our trades go for round 9, I'm leaning towards bringing in Andrew Brayshaw this week and Greg Clark. I think Greg Clark's a must-have. we missed the boat on Jack Carroll, which we could have done last week, but I decided against it because I really wanted to play aggressive. So we bring in Clark for Nash this week, and we bring in Brayshaw for Real. Um, and yeah, I like these trades. I think Brayshaw is another good player compared to Callum Mills. Both of them have really good inside and outside games, so they both should score pretty well and average well, you think. And it also helps my buy structure up a bit. So we have 9 players playing on that first buy round, 10 on the second, and 9 on the third. So we're looking pretty solid. I think if McInnes can get a game or Jack Williams can get a game, it will help us a lot as well. But if not, we're probably going to have to try to find replacements for them so that we have players playing during the bye. But yeah, those are the trades we make now. And heading into the bye, I'm liking how my team's looking like. We've got 1 upgrade in defense, that's Dacos, and 2 upgrades in the midfield, Horn Francis and Clark. I think next week we look to move on Horn Francis and bring in someone like Tuke Miller, who's a bit underpriced still. So yeah, if we bring in Tuke Miller next week, we'll have just the upgrade in defense and upgrade in midfield. We'll also have the 2 upgrades in the Ruck. Obviously, that's going to be a pain trying to get in Max Gawn when he comes back, if he doesn't play this week, that is. And then in the forward line, I think Dunkley should be top 6. Brody, I think he should push for top 6. And Parker should be top 6. The rest, Canelio, Butters, and Martin, I don't think are top 6. So Tim English is up there. Isaac Heaney's up there. There's a lot of players. I've not really looked into it. In the forward line that we probably need to get into our team that are top 6. Taranto, I think, will definitely be top 6. And Liberatore, potentially. Trelaw, potentially. Dylan Moore, potentially. So, I mean, Canelio, Butters, and Brody, I don't think are top 6, but I think they're players that if they do get given more midfield time, they will improve their average, obviously, and they could push for top 6. But given their current roles, Canelio and Butters especially, I don't think are top 6. So our team's looking pretty good. A couple more upgrades to make, and I think we should be fine. This week, I'm not really looking into the captains and the vice captains, but I'm really keen on Andrew Brayshaw as a player that we could potentially VC. So he plays the Suns. The Suns were pretty hard to score against last week, but I think we probably go Bailey Smith into Brayshaw or Bailey Smith into someone like Callum Mills this week. Bailey Smith plays Collingwood, so he should have a field day. And yeah, Collingwood do give up a lot of points. Andrew Brayshaw, I've always wanted to get him into my team, so we've brought him in this week. We could take a risk and captain him, and I think he should be fine against the Suns. But yeah, that's how our team's looking like at the moment. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to comment them down below. Leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.